Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a subject I've covered a few times before, but it's a huge subject and well worth revisiting from various angles or positions. And it's the why has no black-run government in Africa ever succeeded? They've inherited, in some cases, very rich countries with big export markets and lots of potential, lots of possibilities. And yet every time it descends into this constant megalomaniacal type corruption, petty tribalism and so on. Even people educated in the West, it doesn't seem to matter. No matter what education or training they've received, it appears to go down the same path every time. And it's quite sad. And if you look at Africa now, it's almost the entire continent, other than a few small pockets where Westerners are or offshore investments intensive. Other than those, the whole place is a basket case writhing in absolute poverty. Now there's I've got a reference text in front of me here. There's a book called The State of Africa, and it's called The History of the Continent Since Independence from Europeans. It's written by a guy called Martin Meredith. So I'm quoting or sections or paraphrasing, really. I'm not going to quote. So this is one African country. This one African leader, they go into this sort of megalomaniacal thing, and they start off, and some of them, their intentions weren't bad. They recognised that they were inheriting a rich country, and they were far more concerned with getting their hands on the loot and having all the glory and the prestige, rather than making more of it. And that comes across sort of every time, and why the world was so keen to sort of hand over rich, well-run countries to these people is quite beyond me. But look, that's how it was. The United Nations, a lot of activists in the United States, and what today people would call globalists, they were pushing very hard for these countries to be given to the colonialists and the white folks to leave and have the blacks run the country. And of course, they ran it into the ground, typically within a few years, 20 years tops. So now I'm paraphrasing from the book here, but the flunkies that were appointed to act as like ministers or key advisors to one African leader here. The ministers listened and dutifully took down notes and received instructions. If one of them wished to comment or speak, he had to ask permission. No opposition of any sort was tolerated. Anybody with an opinion was crushed, Muslims and others alike. The secret police job was to track down people expressing any opinions, and the secret police did very well, because they would constantly say to the megalomaniacal leader, look, there's all these conspiracies against you, all these people trying to do this and undermine you and try and spread the word that you're not really a god. And so we got to get out there, we got to get them, please sign these arrest warrants and so on. And so thousands of people were just arbitrarily detained without charge. Many died, and many others were in constant fear of someone who may have been in their house was denounced as having an opinion that wasn't liked. And so the mere fact they may have been in that person's house a week ago could be enough for that person to be arrested. It was that crazy. Sounds like social media in America and the West today, doesn't it? But that's how it was in Africa. This is like 50 years ago. And the revolution, that is the revolution that supposedly was going to happen after the white people left, has just turned into straight out terror. No one's able to utter an opinion or have an opinion, and no one knows their fate day to day. Now, in another African country, the guy thought that he was a god, the great god of Africa. I'm the terror of international imperialism. I'm the dagger against colonialism. I'm a PhD in all subjects. And he was portrayed, he controls the media. And so all the key roles are given given to his friends and relatives, members of the tribe. And he's very careful. I mean, this particular guy here in Guinea, he's very careful to pick people who are blithering idiots, because then their loyalty to him will be without question. They've got no capacity to make anything of their lives on their own, so they're relying on him. So this guy has 20 volumes of his reflections and thoughts, which is compulsory study in the schools and universities, as they were. Students had to memorize his poems in order to assure their success in any examination. And most of the school examinations were not, mathematics, science, or language or anything like that, but just reciting the great leaders' poems, for fuck's sake. And he was a source of, he inherited parliaments and senates and all sorts of things there. But as soon as these people just didn't do what they were told, just get rid of them and use the police or the army to do it. So the Constitution was one of the first things that were torn up. So ruling by decree, intervening in legal cases, walking into courtrooms and just telling the judge, you're out, buddy. I want this and that outcome. And so other times when he was holding court and giving giving his verdict and opinion on things, he had a special dancing troupe that was there that at the clip of his fingers they would start doing some African dance, and there would either be somersaulters and all sorts of things there in reverence to his godlike greatness. Here's another one. This is in Malawi. Within days of gaining independence, the guy who the West or sections of the West had supported, he just dismissed all the politicians, just all of them, and treated the country as his personal tribal domain, demanding not obedience but civility. So people had to crawl on the floor around him or the ground in order to show how great he was. Again, these people may start out. I mean, look at this guy. When he started out, he was talking about how he wanted to boost exports, have a manufacturing sector, and he wanted everyone to be equal, and communism and this and that and the next thing. And it's all very well to dream these things and to imagine them and imagine the adoration of the masses when you institute, but trying to make them happen is hard graft. It's hard work, a lot of detailed planning, a lot of expertise and knowledge, patience, restraint is required. And you've got to bring people with you, because as soon as the people aren't coming with you, and you have to rule by decree and by threat and by terror, which means that people are doing the least possible they can do, which makes the dream even further away than it would have been. So, but these people don't have that sort of restraint. Again, Western educated, they just don't see that. They turn into just angry, brutish children, and I don't know why that is. There's in Western history, then say ancient Rome, there was Caligula as an example, but he was crazy. But can all of these black leaders, can all of them be crazy? I mean, it doesn't seem to be possible, does it? Just on balance of probability. So this guy would then make announcements. Anything I say is the law. No, I'm talking Joe Biden here. We're talking Africa. Nobody was permitted to question his authority's decisions. He censored films. He had to look at all films from the West and decide whether they were decadent or not. Looking at other ones like Ivory Coast that had a really good chance of making a go of it, but again, democracy is just gets in the way. Why do I have to convince those people that what I want to do is the right thing? And so due to prestige or pursuit of prestige and riches, and then they realise, I'm in a powerful position here. I can just get these mining companies to give me $1 million every month, and I can put that away in a Swiss bank account, and I'm rich and I'm powerful. I don't have to do what anyone else tells me to do, and this sort of thing. So all the elections that were held prior to the Europeans going, and all the work that was put into putting together these things were all gone. Were all again, in some cases, only weeks. Opposition parties were murdered and killed. Judges who didn't produce verdicts were killed. And you know, the thing that concerns me is this sort of stuff. They want to, these crazy people, they want to take control quickly and just do what they want to do. There are so many sort of similar things happening in the West now. You know, arbitrary arrest, arbitrary detention, screaming, howling mobs, depersoning people on social media. You know, banks just arbitrarily deciding we're not going to let you use our banking services, or airline companies won't let people fly, or Airbnb won't let people stay there, that sort of thing. These are things that happen in tin pot, crazy, megalomaniacal African countries. These aren't things that happen in rule of law, democratic process, Western world, are they? They seem to be. We seem to be going down that path. I mean, who would have thought it? The West is actually following Africa of the 1950s and 60s. So these are just some of the things. You know, I like the dancing troupe dancing to convince the leader that he's so great. But these sort of things just seem to go. And we still see in South Africa today. You know, they have these dances. They start dancing. You know, kill the bar and this sort of thing. I mean, are these people ready for self-government? Assuming, you know, grass huts and that sort of thing are a thing of the past. We're talking bricks of mortar and advanced industrial society, or an advanced society. You know, and social structures, law, and the whole thing, contracts. Are there any of these people in Africa ready for it? It would seem not. And even when they've got it served up to them, a functioning democracy and a functioning economy, doing very nicely, thank you, they still manage to fuck it up. It's very sad, but I don't think there's going to be any change. And I think ultimately the West or competent people are going to have to move back in and say, look, you can stay in charge, but we're going to run it for you. And it's going to be a form of really a form of modern colonialism, whether it's you know, more slanted to the benefit of the locals or whatever, but it's going to be there. And I think the big banks and the big international, you know, money lending institutions, really, it's a form of neo-colonialism anyway, if you want to look at it like that. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. You've been a Tacitus today. You're a Pushback Channel. Thank you for listening.